Let's bring in my panel, the wonderful Kosha Gada joining me now, and former Labor MP Michael Danby. Let's talk, Kosha, about this ongoing bleeding sore about the Signal messaging app and what went on the app and how a journalist was involved and where it's all headed.
So not their finest hour in what's been, I would say, 2 months of a pretty flawless presidency to date. Hiccup was going to come, and this one has come. There's a couple of things. So one is the good news I would start with is it could have been worse in terms of the success of the attack happened. Nothing was leaked ahead of time to adversaries. It wasn't a more nefarious actor in there than just a journalist, unfriendly though he may be. The bad news, obviously, is how did this happen? And what's interesting is we know that the admin of it was Mike Waltz, National Security Advisor. He went on Laura Ingraham just a few hours ago and categorically denied that he's even met this journalist, did not add him, a staffer did not add him. And him going and doing that has ballooned the story even more because either that's not true or there's some kind of compromise that's happened in the tech.
There's some sort of backdoor in the app to enable someone who was not meant to be on there, who was not, they say, put on there, who turned up.
And all techs do have backdoors, even super encrypted ones like this. So they should appoint somebody to do a proper, serious investigation. Stop talking to the media until they actually have answers. That would be my advice to them, because this doesn't help President Trump, and he wasn't involved in it anyway.
And I've often wondered this. Why don't the US military, why don't the Australian military create their own app service that they can use with a bit more confidence? Because a lot of these apps are tethered back to people who hate the right side of politics in the Silicon Valley or China or worse.
But, Peter, all the White House principals have their own encrypted telephone.
Now,
so they should be communicating with each other.
Like here, they've got encrypted phones and encrypted computers, but that's a different system. I think a messaging app, a comms app.
The instantaneous aspect of it is what those things sort of miss. And so maybe they do their own thing. Maybe they don't trust factions of their own government, not to get too conspiratorial in here, but given what's happened to this administration before, who knows what's going on.
It's a job for Elon. Hey, how shocked were you to see in black and white in the federal budget on Tuesday night that the government is now rolling out more funding and consistent funding to UNRWA, given everything we know?
Well, Australians, taxpayers resent foreign aid being given to organisations that have proved to be involved in terrorism, that have educated poor Palestinians to be fanatical over the last 50 years and have not resettled any people. So it's like, I just think it's a terrible decision. All other Western countries are going the other way. And it's, again, a reason why it's a socialist left government outside the Labor mainstream on this issue, and Penny Wong should be condemned for it.
And it's $20 million when you consider that we've taken 3,000 of these people, way more in per capita terms than any other country in the world, way more than the Arab neighbours. They will cost us money. We know many of them are already applying to stay here permanently. We know they're accessing payments and housing and Medicare. I reckon we're up for more than 20 million already.
Well, Australians are going to have to make a judgment on that kind of thing, and I don't think Penny Wong's foreign policy or this huge number of Gazan refugees outside the ability to check them is something that most Australians will welcome.
Anthony Albanese has invited President Trump for an official visit to Australia. Do you think that got filed in the bin?
He didn't come in the first term, and it is an awfully long way away. But if they're hosting something like the Quad with other countries that are of relevance to the Indo-Pacific strategy that Trump is looking at, maybe we might see something like that if there's a broader agenda.
Has he ever been to Australia, Kosha?
He might have as a private citizen, but not as president. He did not come in the first term.
Tell him we've got good golf courses. We'll see. Hey, just quickly, Russian ceasefire. Trump saying he doesn't think they're abiding by the terms.
Well, that's the first sign, if he said that he's putting pressure on the Russians. The Ukrainians have basically created a freedom of movement in the Black Sea because they've destroyed the Russian Navy. They can't go east of Crimea or west of Crimea because of the super use of drones. I wish the Australian Navy and the Australian Air Force would wake up to these modern technologies that the Ukrainians have invented.
We will talk about a lot of this stuff in the campaign. I think this will be an election where foreign policy will matter. Just quickly, Greenland, is he going to get Greenland?
It looks like things are heating up. They had their election. People that were favourable to independence, not necessarily in joining with America, but just being independent, seem to have won or gained political favour. So that is step one on the path of some sort of relationship, direct relationship, whatever that may look like.
Right, I'll leave it there. Thanks, both of you.